Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you had a really great day trading today. So today definitely stands out as one of the most severe red days we've had in recent history. It is the biggest single day decline since 2020, and we opened SPY today with a massive gap down completely outside of the implied move. Now, I did not make a members video last night because of how steep futures dropped, and I had intended to make a video about how to catch this kind of drop, and I started making the video. I actually got pretty far into making that video, and then when I replayed it, I realized I completely overcomplicated it and that it probably wouldn't be helpful to release that yesterday. So I'm going to try again today. I played with how I'm going to present it today, and I'll go over how today I traded and how I ended up having a green day. So that's going to be in the members videos after this. So SPY opened with that massive gap down. So the bottom of the implied move was right here. Friday's contract was right here, and we gapped completely underneath that. We gapped underneath support, which was right here at 550. And we dropped all the way down to the next support level at 540. So that drop was no joke. Not only did we gap down really big, but then we had a $10 drop after that. That does not happen every day. So then that next support was right here at 540, and that does go back to last August. While we're on this time frame, let's take a look at the 35 EMA. It did come down and cross underneath the 30-minute 200 moving average. That is extremely significant. That is a bearish signal. Look at where we crossed up. That was right here back in February of 2023. So over 2 years ago, we started this bull run. And before that, when we crossed down right here, that was our first big time frame bear signal right here. And over the next year, we ended up taking it back down to the 200-week moving average. And so let's look at that weekly time frame. That is right here. So while we're on this time frame, this is the weekly time frame, we have been trading underneath this weekly 35 EMA. We did get rejected when we got close to it this week. So look at this 35 EMA. It does define the uptrend, and once we get underneath it, we need to see that get back above and reclaim the 35 EMA. So here we dropped under, and then we got it back up. We did have a green signal line here, but in this month's case, we got that first red candle, and then that 35 EMA turned into resistance. So it is looking very familiar to back here, where at the end of 2021 here and then early 2022, we got underneath that 35 EMA, and then you could see a little bit of an attempt to get above, but we could never get those blue candles to print again. So 35 EMA became our resistance while we took it all the way down to the 200-week moving average. So this is the big weekly time frame. And here we do have a red signal line, just like we did have a red signal line with some rejections underneath it. So it's possible that the slide might have begun here. You could see here we do get big swings trying to get above it, but ultimately getting pulled back down as long as we have this red signal line. So this right here is going to be important to watch, especially to call out bear rally short squeezes versus actually getting back into a bullish uptrend. So SPY, crazy down day today, down 4.93%. SPX, same thing over here. We gapped down completely outside of the implied move, almost twice the implied move here. So we almost took it 2 standard deviations out. We gapped underneath this uptrend. So let's look at that on the daily time frame. This is the uptrend that we have had since last year right here, last April, last August. We did bounce on it here in March last month, and then we just broke underneath it. We gapped underneath that downtrend. Look at this red signal line. You could see that we were having difficulty right here bringing it back above the signal line, and we did break it back down today, and massive down gap underneath the uptrend away from the red signal line. So once we dropped, we took it to the next support level. I know I've been bringing up this support level quite a bit, 5,400, and we did get this red signal line here in that second candle of the day, and we did push lower down to that next support. So where does that support go? So right here, we did see that as support in September, then right here in July of last year. Where we did lose that right there is going to be our next support now at 5130. 35 EMA here on this daily time frame did have a bearish cross down right here. So all of this bearishness that we have had piling up on top of our trading ranges that we've had difficulty getting up just got pretty much nailed down with that cross down on the daily time frame. So now the daily 35 EMA and the daily 200-day moving average, which has been supporting us for almost 2 years now, is turning into resistance, or just has turned into resistance. So really big level to watch here. SPY today closed down almost 5%. That is huge. 4.93% down. SPX down 4.84%. VIX had a tremendous up day, almost 40%, back above 30. And for anybody that doesn't know, 25 and up is my favorite volatility. So I am actually really excited about this. And we did not even touch the implied move today. And I am really excited to make that tutorial on how to catch moves that open completely outside of the implied move like this. So we closed at that next support underneath the downtrend, underneath the implied move, underneath the entire trading range, and futures right now are looking like they want to gap underneath that support. So quick zoom out here to see where is the next support. I think I mentioned it in SPY, but 5130 looks like the next true support that we have, and that is no joke right there, 5130. And actually, if I recall, this right here is when we built out that bear flag. Let's see what the target for that would be. 5138. So that literally, this bear flag would take us right back down to the next support level. All right, let's move it to QQQ. So right here, before I drop it down to the 30-minute time frame, let's look at a possible bear flag situation here. So this was our first drop off of all-time highs. Then we consolidated back to the weekly 35 EMA, the 200-day moving average, and have been rejected there. And if that does play out as a bear flag, we're looking at 420 as a bear target. So that is pretty close to right here. This is about 425 where we have previous support. So we still could see a little bit more to go here. We do have a red signal line that has been seeing that rejection underneath it. And let's look at the intraday time frame. We opened today with a gap down underneath the implied move for the next 2 days completely. We turned that 35 EMA away from that downward facing 30-minute 200 moving average, and we dropped out and closed just above that next support level. So where is the next support? 448. I know I've been mentioning that level. And real fast, this is the daily time frame again. 448 goes back to right here. We did see that as support in September, and prior to that we did see that as a resistance level. So important level we're sitting here at, but definitely seeing negative momentum, so it might be difficult to catch this year. The next true support underneath that is right here at 423. And I don't have it in here, but right here was a bull gap. So we do have possibly some buying support there. That would be the next place to look for it, with the bottom of that gap being right here at 424. I know I'm jumping around to time frames, from time frame to time frame, but once you get underneath that 200-day moving average, you really need to be referencing that 1-day time frame. So, but back on the 30-minute time frame, so QQQ closed down 5.35%. That is huge. VXN closed up almost 30%, back above 30 here as well, and we didn't touch the implied move today. We do now have 2 bear gaps underneath the 200-day moving average. There was a little bit of momentum still pointing that 200-day moving average up. I have a feeling that we're going to be tilting that down. The 200-day moving average will be a steady, reliable support when it's facing up. As soon as it tilts down, it's like a bad omen, and we are seeing that right now in futures. So IWM had the biggest down day, almost 7%. We opened with a huge gap down back underneath this 35 EMA, which has been resistance except for right here before the tariff announcement. Then we get back down underneath this 35 EMA, so keep an eye on that as resistance. So this week we have been trying to fight for this level right here. You can see that support at 198, but we did lose it today. We gapped underneath it, and we've even had trouble at that next support level. So taking that to the 1-year time frame, 197 is where I had support here. You could see support. We did get a bounce here, and then we did lose that today. We gapped underneath it, dropped to the next support, and closed underneath it. So that next support goes back to right here. So within 1 year, this is 1 year of price data, we're at the lowest point in the past 365 days. So wiped out an entire year of gains here. You could see Stupid Willie right here trying to fight for another swing up. We lost that today. So if 191 is where we broke that support at, where is the next support? Let's take it to the 5-year. We have support. This is not going to be the prettiest number, but support is looking like 165. And 165 is another 13% down here. So after that big drop in 2022, we did take it to that level and find quite a bit of support there. So 165 definitely should be on your radar for IWM. All right, and did I go over everything else here? I think I did. IWM down 6.42%, RVX almost 30%, 28.83%, back at 32, and we did not even touch the implied move today. So it's looking to me like low VIX, when volatility gets low, is a sell signal again. And I was thinking that in VIX when we got under 20, when we hit 18, it brought me back to the days when low VIX was actually a sell signal, not a melt-up signal. All right, and lastly, let's take a look at DIA. DIA opened with a massive gap down. This week was a struggle to hold that 30-minute 200 moving average. 35 EMA danced around it, and yesterday, before tariffs were announced, we did see a small break up there, and to take it back up to the 200-day moving average. Today, we gapped completely away quite violently from the 200-day moving average. That is not a small signal. We gapped underneath the support right here at 415. We took it down and we closed out this bull gap from before we consolidated back up to the 200-day moving average. So we closed that out and we took it all the way to the bottom of the implied move for the week, which was 406, and we closed just a little bit above where we have support now, which is 400. And 400, let's take a look at that on the 1 year time frame. Where is 400? So right here, nope, that's not it, right here. And that's not it either, right here. So we had this up gap right here that was filled right here at 400, and then we saw this huge rally afterwards. So support is right here at 400. So we're not too terribly far away from that right now. Prior to that, it was a resistance level. So yes, definitely 400 should be on your radar if you're trading DIA. All right, so are you guys having fun yet? What a crazy week. Volatility is not for the faint of heart. I know a lot of people are struggling trying to trade this. In the members videos tonight, I am going to make that video about how to catch a really violent down move or a violent gap down in futures. The kind of day where we don't even touch the implied move. Like here, we didn't even come close. We just gapped completely out. So what do you do? What strikes do you lean into if you're a premium seller? That is happening tonight. I know I said I was going to make that last night, but it just didn't happen. It will be posted before the morning along with the implied move. And we did have a big volatility expansion. VIX, VXN, RVX up almost 30% across the board. So tomorrow's implied moves are going to be really wild. That I know for sure. So come join us over in the members section if you're interested in knowing what tomorrow's trading ranges are in advance, and if you're interested in that tutorial. So if you're a member, I'll see you in a few hours. And if not, have fun, trade safe, make sure you take profits when you're up, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.